Well, I'm very happy to be here, and I was just talking to Tessa and Ms. Jones on the other thing, and telling them about some of my crazy experiences. But right now, we will discuss what I was asked to talk about, and that's life at Tech during the crossover, being a trailblazer, and of course the career paths from Tech. And again, as I told Tessa earlier in the education room, is that I have to tell you guys I was at Tech when they were still using kerosene lamps to light the place. I'm a 1975 graduate of Louisiana Tech. I'm also a member of the 1973 National Championship football team there. I was on the wrestling, I was on the weightlifting, powerlifting team there. One time I was rated, as my brother was talking about, the number one powerlifter in the country. When I left Tech, I was number two in powerlifting. However, my experiences at Tech were quite interesting to say the least. I transferred to Tech from an HBCU. I went to school right here in Bossier City at Airline High School. So, but when I get to Tech and without having doing my homework, Tech was like a lot of schools in the South. We had our first wave of athletes there in 1971. That was when 99.9% of the athletes actually came to Louisiana Tech. There was one guy there when I got there in 72, played maybe three or four played basketball. They basically did not allow, and you may not know this, African-American athletes to be on the baseball team, and I do mean not allow. There were a few on the track, but I always had consternation with the word student athlete. And I have consternation with that word as we talk to the young people, because as a young man, I was always what they would call an activist, and that simply means is that we want our young people to know who they are, and our brother Theron mentioned that, is you have to check yourself first of all, because I have to know who I am before I know who you are. And so I was always studious. My mother was not impressed with the fact that people thought I was a star athlete. She was not impressed with that at all, and she didn't graduate high school. She wanted to make sure that I was academically prepared. So when you have instructors, and at Tech at that time, they were named national champs the year before I got there. We became national champs while I was there, but academically, I never had a situation anyway. But because I was addressing on the football field the inequities that was happening, even though everyone was familiar with Fred Dean and Roland Harper and these guys, all my buddies, and God bless Fred, as we know he went to sleep. We had a lot of situations on campus. Now, I would pay attention to the flavor of the campus when it came to the other students. None of us were naive enough to believe that athletes were not going to have, quote, some special treatment. But I would notice the flavor, and the flavor wasn't nice at all. And even with the instructors, as a matter of fact, I have to tell you about this as we talk about keeping your eyes open and knowing what's going on and getting to know who you are. We had one teacher, I'm sure she's retired now, and I say we, there were a couple of us in class, and one is my best buddy in the world. He was struggling a little bit, I'll just be honest about that, but for some reason, she called us both in, and she sat us down, and she's talking to us about, and it's an English class, and then she says, well, I talked to the coaches, and they said that if you fail my class, you'll still be eligible to play football. That was the wrong thing to say to me. Because first of all, I'm not failing your class. I didn't believe in the word student athlete anyway. I did my history on that way back in high school. So in the early 1950s, maybe late 40s, I have to tell the students about this because I want them to look this up. The word student athlete simply came about because a, quote, white student, unquote, got injured. His parents wanted the university to pay for his medical injuries. The university hired a lawyer, found a loophole, and said, we are not obligated to pay for his injuries because he is a student athlete and not an employee. It had nothing to do with him being an athlete and a student. Okay, so as per Louisiana Tech, at any university that I've gone to, I always try to, and when I was coaching, I would try to get my young men to understand, and I coached ladies for a while, is that you have an obligation to you, and you have to get to know who you are and what you are doing and why you're doing it, because it goes back to the old African proverb, beware of the naked man who offers you his shirt. And many naked people will offer you their shirts. And so you have to be careful about what's going on. And, we talk to kids all the time about introducing themselves to who they are. And Brother Theron mentioned about being dream killers and that kind of thing. So we have to let them understand that do not let people psych you out with all of that stuff. Well, when kids go to college, it's party time. And no. It is time to get what you went there for. Sure, everyone's going to have a little fun. Everyone's going to relax a little bit. That's common knowledge. However, it is not time to party and all of that stuff. It's time to educate yourself and to get ready for your future. Know who's around you, know who's surrounding you, know what they believe, or at least have a good idea of what they believe and where they are trying to go in their lives. And so that's where our students really have to be careful. And that was when we first entered tech. You saw a lot of that not being stressed. There was no one to talk to. Well, Ronnie Wiggins was there. And Ronnie, well, man, we all loved Ronnie. He was a cool brother. I think he may have finally retired. And there was another young lady who worked in the intramural department. Can't think of her name. Excuse me, her name right now, but she was there. So we just want to say, as far as the doing the crossover, and most people don't know this, Louisiana Tech was involved, and you can look it up in the historical archives. There's something that had to do with legalities where they did not want to recruit Black athletes or something like that. So Tech has a history. Don't let people fool you about Louisiana Tech. It has a lot of work that needs to be done and should be done. Now, being a trailblazer, to be very honest with the students, I had never planned to attend Louisiana Tech. As I said, I transferred there from an HBCU with a friend of mine. We had gone from elementary school together. Unfortunately for him, things were not going well for him athletically. He got frustrated, said he was going to transfer. My next word was, when are we leaving? And because I'll be very honest, I knew I could play football anywhere I went. That was not my issue. So I didn't have any problem doing that. So, but I did not, and I repeat, I did not expect to run into all of the double standards. Coaches love to tell athletes, where the best players going to play, and if we had better players, they'll be on the field. Don't buy that for a minute. You hear the sportscasters say that all the time when they're on sports right now. And having been in the NFL several times and that kind of stuff, it's filled with politics, depending on what school you went to, what situation you happen to be in at the time, how much money they pay guys. So there's a lot of stuff. Don't buy all this foolishness that you hear on TV. And then, of course, I will say this. I love my alma mater. I'm very proud of being there. It did open doors for me. Being a student athlete that could actually articulate, that actually graduated and had a degree, when I would apply for jobs, they said, "Oh, you went to Louisiana Tech." And so they thought that was something special because I happened to be an African-American male who could actually put two sentences together and who had the propensity to be more than average. And I'm grateful for that. I mean, first of all, as all of us know, God is always responsible for the things that happen to us. But I'm grateful for the opportunity that having the badge of that bulldog did open some doors that may have otherwise been closed. So there's a whole litany and a whole compilation of things that go with being a Louisiana Tech bulldog, and that's why yes, I'm going to call you Dr. Love Vaughn. That's why I was telling Dr. Love Vaughn is that I was so happy to see her and to see her there, and the other brother that's recently been hired, and the brother that's on here now, etc., is because, as I said, I went to Tech when they were still using oil lamps to light the place, and it was nothing like the students see now. You would see students of color just disappear, and you wonder what happened to them, and then when you run into them years later, they go, "Man, I just couldn't take it. I couldn't deal with it," and that kind of thing. Discrimination in classrooms. Who's going to admit that they're being unfair? We hear about it. Parents of color tell us about it. You're an A student, but you're getting C's, and make it to bring it home. I tell my wife all the time. I say, "Hey, you are the lucky ones." She got her A's, she got her B's, but there were so many other students that did not, that were just as smart, just as studious, just as astute, doing just as well. And last thing I'll say about that to our students, as we talk about the movement at Tech, you guys need to support Ms. Love Vaughn. You need to support the brother that's coming in. You need to support the brothers that are there, because trust me, Understand this. They are under a lot of pressure as well. They are under an extreme amount of pressure to have to carry their entire race of people that tread through Louisiana Tech. Unlike your quote white counterparts, unquote. They're just ordinary people. They don't have that stress. Why do I say that? With you being Black students, you got to carry the pressure of being a Black student. You can't just be a student. It's just like going anywhere in the country. Anywhere you go, you have to be a Black man in Asia. But if your counterpart goes to Asia, he's an American in Asia. So understand what you are dealing with here as we talk about standing on shoulders. I heard one of the other brothers talk about legacy and that kind of thing. Understand that you are not only building your own legacy, but you are protecting the legacy of those individuals that came before you, of those individuals that are there now. One of our sisters was talking about being on the dance team and all of that kind of thing. We had 2 young ladies and a guy that were cheerleaders at Louisiana Tech that are African-American back in the early 70s and things of that nature. So she has to understand that she's standing on shoulders 40 years later of individuals that came before her. And Brother Moats, I don't know that brother personally, but he's standing on shoulders of Charles Queeksix McDaniels and Roland Harper and Fred Dean and Winfred Wilborn and all of those guys. So you guys have to understand that, or you're standing on shoulders of the academicians. And we graduated. Understand that. We graduated with degrees, hold master's degrees, many of us, superintendent certifications, many of us, doctorate degrees, many of us, etc. And if you look back in the archives, you will find that I and maybe 1 or 2 more was in the first group of African-American athletes to ever walk across the stage at Louisiana Tech. So students that were experiencing a lot of things that felt disenfranchised and felt that they couldn't do it anymore, they had no one to go to. They did not have Dr. Love Vaughn. They did not have brother, I think it's Poole and the new brother. They didn't have those people. And brother Jerry Baldwin, who was an HBCU graduate, was the first African-American coach at Louisiana Tech that helped start some of the movement as well. So all of these guys have to understand that there are shoulders that you are standing on. So as we talk about trailblazing, as we talk about moving through the process, as we talk about being proud to be a bulldog, understand that comes with a price. And that price is, you can't ignore the fact that you are there now because others treaded those waters first to make a difference. This man is talking to you right now, and I'm going to end with that. I was run off of the football team because of my stance. Yes, that's a fact. It's a matter of record. But when we celebrated after 30 years of being national champions, I was invited to come back and celebrate with the fellas. I appreciate being invited to come back, but I missed 2 years of playing football that I should have been able to have. But guess what? I walked across that stage, I got my papers, I still went to the NFL with a degree in my pocket. So we have an athletes on this, or you have family members that are athletes that are in high school now, that are Louisiana Tech. I have a nephew that is in the engineering department right now. I have a niece that graduated from there, cousins, etc. Understand, your job is to be an academician. Sports is just gravy. It's icing on the cake. You will get old, your body will get old, but if you have not prepared yourselves academically, it's all for naught. And God rest the dead. Fred Dean and I, just like most of the athletes there, were really close. And if Fred Dean was on this call, he would tell you how many times he has spoken to young people about how he feel very badly about not taking advantage of his opportunity to get an education that he should have gotten while he was there. And he will speak to that and the other athletes that played with him. So again, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate Beverly for inviting me to come on. She did mention, I heard the brother say that he had been fighting, trying to get this started. We had an organization there at Tech called Soul Tech, and it's been going for years and years and years and years and years. Don't know why the young people didn't hear about it. That means that we dropped the ball again. And we would come together homecoming and share, and we still have t-shirts to this day. So I applaud all of you for coming back and for being a part of what's going on, because you are needed. The world is diverse, and Tech is no different from a diverse world. So again, when you look at the university as a whole, understand when Dr. Love Vaughn talk about the pushback that Dr. Guest is getting, understand he is getting a lot of pressure, because you have a lot of people in Ruston and surrounding areas and alumni that don't want you there, first of all. And even though there are a lot that, yeah, they'll help you, people will help you. That's always the case. So I said in closing, I sound like a preacher now, but seriously, think about the Underground Railroad. I tell people all the time, nobody is vilifying, quote, white people, because had there not been, quote, white people, unquote, with a conscience, there would be no Underground Railroad. So we understand that. But let's tell the whole story. That's what life is about, telling the whole story, not vilifying anyone, but making it crystal clear so that we can all understand what fight lies ahead. So again, I appreciate you guys allowing me to come on this platform, because I think it's very important that you're having it, and I'll do whatever I can to support. And thank each and every one of you.